Ladies and gentlemen, good morning if you are watching from the United States. Good evening if you are in Cameroon, Yaounde. Today is November 12th, 2022, and you're on the Lambom Show. Start off by apologizing for starting late due to some technical problems we have had. First, the mistake was mine. Our clocks went back 1 hour last Sunday, and I did not factor that in because I put 12 noon and 5 p.m. Cameroon time. 12 noon Eastern Standard Time now is 6 p.m. Cameroon time, so we ought to have started at 11 a.m. But in addition to that, the problems that Africa always has, peculiar to Cameroon, with electricity and connectivity. Here, Yaounde is in a blackout currently, and our main people are in Yaounde, but Fon is here already. So while the time that we have, Fon, welcome. I'm sorry, how is Yaounde today?
You're talking like a magician. You already said that Yaounde is in a blackout, so you don't have to ask me any further. How Yaounde? Well, there's really a lot of things are happening since morning today. First of all, in my parish where I'm a Catholic Christian, each and everyone have their turn to clean the church and get it set for the week, and that was my turn today. I went there and we arranged things in such a way that when you're working in there, somebody should come and key the gates and then come and release you at the end of your job. And I did what I had to do there. I stayed in there for 2 hours because apparently somebody came to find out whether it was true and then saw me working, didn't indicate that he had come. So when I finished, after I get out my job in a kind of way, such that I was able to be late to be ready for the Lambom show, the person saw me and went away, left the door like that. So when I finished doing what I was doing, I had to stay in there for 2 more hours. So when they finally came to release me, I left the place, leaving back the keys to my house there. So when I got there, I had to get to the yard, passing, using a ladder and going through the over the fence. With my dog, of course, not very much happy with the way I was coming to the house and backing or not. So a lot has been happening. So this issue of I didn't even know that was power outage in Yaoundé until I got to where I am right now, and that's why we learned this happening. Maybe my difficulties will not be as huge as those encountered by Emmanuel and Raymond, and maybe one other person who is going to be a surprise the participant on the program, maybe coming all the way from Limbe. We'll get to discover that when that comes to pass.
So we continue hoping and praying our fingers crossed. And like the intro set to the teaser that I put out, the World Cup fever is on. The different teams have been submitting their list, and after the friendly match that Cameroon had against Jamaica, I think that was Wednesday, that evening you sent me the list of the players that coach Rigobert Song had released. So let's go through that because I know it's making the rounds in Cameroon as that was supposed to be. So what is on that? Who is on that list, and more so who is not, and why?
Let me go very fast because I'm trying to read from my laptop. If I don't go very fast, it's going to go off because of the issue of the power outage. Let me say we have a total of 26, as we said. 3 goalkeepers: Andre Onana, Davis Epasi, Simon Gapandwenbu. 7 defenders: Jean-Charles Castelletto, Ebose Enzo, Collins Fai, Olivier Mbaizo, Nuhu Tolo, Nicolas Nkulu, Christopher Wu. 6 midfielders: Zambo Anguissa, Olivier Cham, Gael Onwa, Martin Ongla, Pierre Kunde Malon, Omgwet, and 10 attackers: Jerome Gom, Mumi Gamalo, Christian Bassabok, Brian Bemo, Georges Kudu, Jean-Pierre Same, Vincent Abubakar, Toko Ikambi, Chupo Moting, and Maru Swaibu. That list gives you a Lions den made up of 3 goalkeepers, 7 defenders, 6 midfielders, and 10 attackers. And in that lot there, you have 24 professionals, whether they're in activity or not. We'll get to talk about what I mean by being activity or not later on. They will have 2 home-based players. And their concern last week was whether we were going to have any home-based players worth the salt. And I was telling you that if logic is anything to go by, then there was no way they were going to have a home-based player who was not the winner of the Ballon d'Or. So Maru Swaibu effectively is on the list. And there's a gentleman from Cologne, of course. Maru Swaibu is from Cotonsport Garoua, and there's a gentleman from Cologne Sangmalema called Jerome. That his name is Jerome Ngom. That is his name, Ngom. Actually, before that list came out, I saw the way he played against Jamaica, and I told myself that this guy was going to be good stuff for the Lions, if not this time around, sometime in future, because he played so well playing from the wings. So that was just how the team was built up. And you see what raised a lot of dust and has been doing so right up to this moment. And actually, the entire country is split into two. Is let me say, between the pro-Ethos and the anti-Ethos, because of the simple reason that when they came up, people had enough reason to suggest that that list was not really drawn up by Rigobert Song Bahana. And if I try to give you a graphic presentation of what happened on the day of the production of the list, or the broadcasting of the list, then you get to understand why there's a lot of bitterness circulating around the place. Now, what happened is, we were told that Cameroon was playing against Jamaica in Yaounde. And just hours to that match, it got to be known that the team that was going to play against Jamaica was going to be an all amateur team, meaning that we're going to have only players from Cameroon, home-based players, and nobody coming from abroad. Even though, don't ask me what do you mean by amateur team when Cameroon is supposed to be running a professional league. But we're talking about the home-based players. The only player who played who was not home-based players is Captain Abubakar Vincent. And we see that Abubakar Vincent came to the field for primary purpose. He had to be the standard bearer of the Cameroon flag that was going to be flown in Qatar. And on that day, the Minister of State, in charge of the Civil Cabinet, Mvonda Yolo, was in town, already was in the field with quite a number of government ministers, if not everybody who matters in the Cameroon government was present. Of course, except the Prime Minister wasn't there, one or two others were in there. But what we got is that what happened was that he came and handed over the flag to the team captain of Cameroon and then read out the message from the President of the Republic. And that message simply said that, Mr. Captain, you are leading this team to the World Cup finals in Qatar, and the entire nation is behind you. So yeah, right in front there with this flag, this national flag, we're handing over to you, which was what he did. Contrasting sharply what happened in 2014 when they were going for the World Cup finals in Brazil. At the time, there was a lot of bitterness in camp, and Etofis, as the captain of the team, refused to receive the flag from the hands of the then Prime Minister of the Republic of Cameroon. So this time it contrasted sharply because Etofis, as president of the Cameroon Football Federation, was there, the company of the head of state's representative, and the standard was handed over to Abubakar Vincent as the team captain of the Cameroon national team. So the match went on, a collection of the domestic selection, and Jamaica opened scores in the second half of the game. Cameroon went on to equalize, and the match ended 1-1. Now, what was expected at the end of the match was that the head coach was going to tell Cameroonians when he would publish the 26-man list for the World Cup, because FIFA has given all the participation nations, 32 of them, up to the 14th of November to produce the final list. But it took everyone by surprise, and was announced that the Cameroon list was going to be announced or going to be published after the match. So everybody was geared up. Everybody watched closely to see who would feature in that list and who would not be there. So finally, when the list was released, or when it was published, there was a lot of dust raised. Remember that a few months back, there had been the outcry why Zambo Anguissa and Michael Ngadu were not part of the team. And the head coach had said that, he's on record to have said that Ngadu, and Zambo Anguissa were what he calls, in quotes, the men in charge of the team, the masters of the team, and that they were at 100% performance. And he was hoping that by November, they would be at 200% performance. In other words, the selection was already given. So the question was, why did they have to drop Ngajui and not Zamboangisa? Or why did they have to drop one person and not the other? Whereas Camerooners have been made to understand that both of them were going to feature in the finalists. Now, Lambert, there is something I like about the television camera. It doesn't tell lies. When it was announced that the coach was going to release the 26-man list, we were watching very closely. Now, what I know in administration is that if it has to do with something like the national team, the coach comes to the list, reads out the names on the list, and then hands over the list to the team press officer, who will proceed to distributing them to the journalists and other press men. But the reverse happened this time around. What happened was, when he came in, accompanied by the team press officer and sat down, it was the team press officer who handed over the envelope containing the list of the players to the coach. And from the word go, the coach found it difficult to even pronounce the names of the players on the list. Question number one, was it being intelligent and telling us that, please, this list is not my list, I'm just discovering it just like you at this particular point in time? Or was this something that was hurriedly done and possibly handwritten so that he could not read the handwriting of whoever wrote down the names? Those are the questions that were being raised. Then the question state that he read out a list of players, and there were certain names that were not there, and some others who were not thought potentially to be there, who featured. So that is exactly what happened last Wednesday in Yaounde.
So welcome, Raymond. I see you are joining us. I don't know whether you are an Okada or whatever, but I see. But it's good to have.
No, I'm in my car. The issue is that there are electricity problems in Yaounde right now, and you have to be in a spot in which you know that the towers are around there are surely going to have a connection, and you are going to be visible to all those watching.
No, thank you. We already indicated at the beginning of the show that the Yaounde is in the blackout, and I'm sure there's something about a new. I read something about a new redistribution.
Yes, I think they sent out a communique that there's going to be rationing of electricity supply from the 12th, that's today, to the 16th. But in my opinion, I think it's better before the World Cup, because not having electricity during the World Cup, that's worse. Some of us plan to watch all the matches, even the days in which there are 4 matches per day. We have to be glued to our screens.
Right. So,
Lambert, why would Lambom Show special envoy to Qatar for the World Cup be worried about whether the lights in Cameroon or not?
No, I think that information he shared is for the audience. The other piece is for right. But let's get on, and I think Raymond, I'd like to get your take on the team. I want to contrast what happened with the national team of Cameroon and the national team of the United States.
Yes.
So the list of the 26 players was also released. I think that was Thursday.
Yes.
And it was done from New York to the state, Empire Building. That's where the coach was. The
Yes.
Empire Building was lit in the colors of the United States. Okay, blue, white, and red. And then he read out the list. But before that, the question the journalist asked him was, when did the players know that they had been selected? And he said he started calling the players on Sunday. He called each player, announced to the player, you're coming. And then when he finished, those that were not going to go to the World Cup, he also called them. And also shared that some people were crying, and he also joined them in crying, because Zach is a colleague. They played together, isn't it? The goalkeeper for the team.
Yeah.
But he had to take the decision not to select him. And breaking that kind of news was not good news. But he took time, all the emotions and all that. So by the time they were coming there, the players already knew. So you had a whole period. This thing that I'm hearing that a press officer is passing some paper to the coach and the coach does not even know the names, how to, I mean, do not forget that the song suffered some stroke some years back. So that may be affecting how it goes. But let's get the plus and negatives from the list that has been delivered. What is your assessment of that list, Raymond?
Well, Lambert, I mean, you have to know that I like dealing with I like dealing with facts. When you talk about the fact that I mean, in America it was done differently. Look at Brazil. Casemiro has won 5 Champions League, but if you watch his video on Instagram, the way he shouted, the way he was happy that he was being selected for the Qatar expedition, it makes you understand that getting into the final list of a World Cup is very, very difficult. Look at a player of Casemiro's standing being happy that he's going to the World Cup. Look at Neymar. You watch Neymar's video on Instagram, he's dancing going to the World Cup. But Neymar is a sure starter for Brazil. So if you look at the images of the Brazilian national team, it tells you that being in that list, it is not easy as it seems. I mean, Roberto Firmino is not going to the World Cup. Now, we have many other cases of players who are not going to the World Cup. But I think apart from that, look at Switzerland. The coach of Switzerland is going to the World Cup without the son-in-law. That is, one of the players is married to his daughter, but he's not taking him along. And I think as a coach, you have to separate yourself from emotion, because I mean, if you carry such an emotional baggage along, such an emotional player along, in which you are tied with him emotionally, it may affect your judgment. And so Murad Yakin not taking the son-in-law is passing on a message to the other teammates that decisions are being made without favor and without fear, and that we can take in the right decision, which we know it has to move the team forward. Look at Spain, because we are there talking. Spain is not going to the World Cup with Sergio Ramos. We all know what Sergio Ramos has been doing for PSG this time around. I mean, he literally played himself to go to the World Cup, but it's not happening. But now, if I have to come back to the Cameroon context, the issue is we cannot say that the coach was just discovering the list, or he was being given the list by the team press officer, or he could not pronounce at least Simon Gapanduetbu or something. I mean, I myself, I find difficulties in pronouncing that name. But the question I ask is, did the Brazilian coach call him Edson Arantes de Nascimento, or he called him Pele? Coaches have their small names that they call players. And so if Simon, the young goalkeeper from Marseille, has to get on the pitch, or he's being coached during the training sessions, will Song not call his name? So for me, those are simple petty reasons that people give. I've asked the question to everybody. Is Song qualified to coach a national team? People give me the answer that yes. Now, why do they feel that he should not have the chance to coach the national team? Is Aliou Cissé qualified for Senegal? Is Jalil qualified for Tunisia? Is Walid qualified for Morocco? Is Otto Addo qualified for Ghana? I think we still have it in our minds because we still have that colonial mentality or that mental slavery that only whites should be able to coach us going to the World Cup. Why are people complaining about 2 names in the list and forgetting the other 24? It means we are chasing the shadow and forgetting the object. We were the ones complaining during the AFCON that Ngado was slow. We were the ones complaining during the AFCON that Zambo was not playing forward passes. He was playing passes only to Hongla or to Umwet. Now, if we don't see those 2 names going to Qatar, Why should we complain when we saw them recently in the AFCON 10 months ago? Now, the issue here is I don't find the list to my taste because I had certain players that I thought would go, but there is somebody who is in charge of the list. Now, he has put forth a list. I was in Douala when we played Algeria. We lost 1-0. And the talk of the town was that we are not going to qualify for the World Cup. But football, being as surprising as it is, we won 2-1 in Algeria.
Well, I think Raymond is frozen there, and we'll wait for him to come back. But I've decided to get us.
If I can trust the judgment that we could go to Algeria and win, it also means that the list has been put out. There is a game plan against Switzerland. There is a game plan against Serbia. There is a game plan against Brazil. The objective is qualifying for the second round. Let's see how it goes.
So Raymond, I think your friend, Fon, I mean, I'm not sure he agrees with what you have said because he has been nodding in disapproval ever since he started making the comments.
Yes, because I mean, there are people who believe that if we had gone with Ngadi, would have stood a better chance. Now I ask the question: if we go with Ngadi and we lose the 3 matches, are people going to complain?
So before we get
does having Ngadi improve?
Before we get into the Ngadi controversy, Fon, you want to introduce? I'm happy that we have a woman today. Welcome, Nadia.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Actually,
I guess you want to ask her a question.
Well, I want you to introduce her.
Well, like I did for Raymond the first time. Nadia, you know, before the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon, the social media was awash with requests that I should go run commentaries, at least for matches that have to do with Cameroon. Nadia happened to have been one of those who were posting and insisting and pushing that I should be asked to come and run the commentaries of Cameroon. So when I went ahead and started to acknowledge those who had concern for me, she was the one person when I talked with, she insisted, and then I got to understand that she was not like somebody who just watches football, but like football was really part of her. And so when we're thinking about the Lambom Show and the upcoming World Cup finals, I got back to her and said that, can you come on board? Let's start talking about it and see how possible during the World Cup finals we can create a version of Sport Vision and see how things go. I was lucky that she said yes, she could come on. So that's why I gave her the invitation and she bought it, and she's on the show today.
So welcome, Nadia. We are glad to have you. I mean, at least there's a woman on set with us. You already see Fon disagreeing with Raymond, and that's quite interesting because I always thought that Raymond would buy everything that Fon says. So I like the fact that he's disagreeing with Fon. Do you have any comments about the list that just came out? We are talking about the World Cup list that Cameroon put out. Any comments? Any initial thoughts? Nadia?
She seems to be frozen.
Okay, so while we wait for her to get back.
Okay. All right. While waiting for her to come back, I was just saying this. I want to talk on behalf of those whom Raymond wants to send under the guillotine. And what I'm saying is this. On behalf of them, I want to ask Raymond just one question. Taking away Choupo-Moting at this point in time from that list, would it have the same impact as if you took away somebody like Umgwet? Because his argument is, people are saying that this one is not there, this one is not there. What about the other 24? So I'm asking him, if they took away Choupo-Moting from the list, would it be just the same as taking away Kunde Malong? I guess not so. What we are saying is, this is a defender who has taught us how to score goals and made goal scoring by defenders in the national team of Cameroon a déjà vu. In fact, something that can always happen. Something that people thought before that was inconceivable. This is somebody who has been able to defend the national team in moments of crisis. And not long ago, I was asking Raymond, do you still remember the player who provided assist for Toko Ekambi to finish up Algeria in Blida? He said a great player called Gado Michael. Now, but if Raymond were to tell us today that taking away Ngado from the team is as good as not taking him away from the team, then I'll find something not quite convincing about that is argument. That's what we are saying. What we are saying is you may do something that will produce an effect that might end up damaging the whole that you were almost about to create. We have been told before that Cameroon is a team of men. And this is a player who has been followed very closely and proven to be good for the national team. And he stepped up the argument and his game by recently scoring a goal and coming out to say that where I am now like this, I am the hungriest lion in the team. I want to sacrifice my life for the national team. And then from nowhere, without any argument, in fact, I can even submit. I can submit now, even though I've not been able to come out with a thesis on that this team definitely was supposed to, the team that was published, the names that were published was supposed to be followed by some explanation as to why this was done and this was not done. Cameroonians want to know exactly what is happening. It is their team. It's not some Bahana's team. It's not Ethiopia's team. The team is owned by Cameroonians. And they have the right to know what is happening in the team, especially when we're going for the World Cup. The fact that if you give the standard to Abubakar Vincent and make him the standard bearer for the Cameroon team at the World Cup finals, then that team belongs to Cameroonians. They have to know. Not for a player who has been under a bright spotlight, who suddenly gets thrown out of the squad, and then people think that no, we should not talk about it. There is something wrong with that. And I want to tell you something. When Cameroon was playing the African Women's Championship in Yaounde in 2016, the day we had to play the match against Nigeria, let Mbala do. There was a stupid argument that somebody suggested that on that day, we're supposed to look for somebody they called an analyst to come and join myself and Evelyn Onaisumba in the booth to run the commentaries of the match. I said, but I've been able to manage this thing through. I will have just one match to go, and you think that you have to dish the Africa now? And there was this thing, bloodletting, a lot of talking, and so on and so forth. And I told them that in my experience in the coverage of teams that have competitions for the Cameroon national team, each time you have left the base to go to the stadium in this array, Cameroon has always lost. Now, this beautiful story I'm writing about the Women's African Championship in Yaounde could be destroyed today because you are leaving this place just because of nothing at all, and you are already in this array. And behold, everybody knows that Nigeria scored an 83rd minute goal that gave them a trophy, and Cameroon had to go back home with nothing. So, as you look forward to the World Cup in Qatar, everybody had been behind this team. Cameroonians were ready to go down the streets if Eto'o was prevented from becoming the president of FECAFOOT. He has done things so well, and everybody is behind him. Then, at the last minute, when you expect them to say, take this beautiful story to a wonderful end, you decide to split the entire nation with some decisions that I consider to be highfalutin. So, what we are saying is avoid doing some kinds of things that could break the momentum at a time where you don't have to. Cameroon had to go to the World Cup in 2002, and that was when everybody thought that Cameroon could win the World Cup. The team that had been prepared very well for the tournament landed in France, the last stop over before going over to the East. I only call that section of the world the East. Then there was the strike action, and the momentum got depleted, and Cameroon registered what they had. A lousy performance in the competition. The little things you do before you go to a competition, they count at the end of the day. This is not the time for us, because look at what is happening on social media now. The team would have come out of the change room on Wednesday in white, looking so wonderful. You're moving on an aircraft saying Alile Lyon, emblazoned on it. That is something in all of my life, in these 5 World Cups I've covered, I've never seen before. Everything's been done to put that the required momentum to take Cameroon right to winning the cup, as Ethiopians has made Cameroonians believe it's possible, which I also think is possible for the simple fact that we're one of 32 teams going to play at the tournament. But in the end, we start taking some decisions that might end up just ditching what would have been a lofty dream.
So, if you are just joining us here on the Lambom Show, and I'm on set with the veteran sports journalist Fon Echekiye and sports analyst Raymond Olume, I want to welcome Ivo. Ivo's good evening, gentlemen. We are all eyes and ears to get the latest as the countdown for November 20th narrows. Focus, good start. Good point, Raymond. Demia, I'm watching. It's quite interesting. This for you, Raymond. Charles, is Raymond pretending to know that the list was made by Edo? Spare us with your statistics. But I want to come back to you because again, yeah, let's really zero down. This is about one player, or I mean maybe two. Raymond, you said there were certain players that you expected to be on the list. Who are those players? And
I mean, I expected a player like Chemalon to be on the list. I mean, for those of us who were present in Yaounde during the farewell match against Jamaica, I mean, if you look at that defender for Coton Sport, in my opinion, he's tournament ready. Unfortunately, he didn't make the cut, but I think that going to the Shan, he may be very, very instrumental for Cameroon. I mean, he's already vice captain of the Intermediate Lions. So, I mean, that international experience of participating in that tournament may take him to another level. But for the AFCON, I'll be surprised if a player like Chemalon is not on the list. And then another player, which I'm also surprised did not make the list, is Jean Onana. He has played some few times with the Lions. I love the way he holds the ball in midfield, but unfortunately, the coaching department they made other decisions. For me, these are the only two players that I could basically expect to be in the list. Obviously, I personally had high hopes for a player like Sacha Boey, but Sacha Boey refused to confirm his participation with the Lions. And then there's a player I'm looking at, that's Fon Echekiye, who plays for Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, these are binationals who can be co-opted in the Cameroon national team, but obviously they still have their sights set on the fact that they want to play for European nations. But I think apart from that, based on what Fon was saying, the issue is that when we say Cameroonians were expecting. Now, what were Cameroonians expecting? That we'll just take the same list that went for the AFCON and make a copy and paste and put in the same players and go to Brazil with? No, that's not what we say. When during the AFCON, and I think during the AFCON, and I think even after the AFCON, because when Fon is saying that Cameroonians have a right to know, was the Portuguese coach telling us everything?
So Raymond,
we also had a right to know.
Raymond, I want
Yes.
to differ. I want to differ with you because I mean I'm taking the example. I've not watched the other teams. The US team, isn't it? The coach of the United States. That press conference lasted, I would say, 2 hours.
Yes.
And during that press conference, he gave you why each player came in. And what was his result letter? He looked at the opponents that the United States is going to. So, for example, one of the opponents is going to be England. Yes, I think if not 6, 7 of the team of the players playing in England. And so he said, I wanted to focus on the players that are already, playing with these English players. That is one of the reasons why I selected these people as opposed to why these others were not there. I mean, I know it's a different society, but I think that for the sake of the community, for the sake of soccer is like religion to most Cameroonians, isn't it? And that's why the popular opinion is so divided. But I think on a press conference like that, it's important to say, well, we cannot take everybody. Of course, we can't. It's impossible to get everybody. But at the same time, these are the few players that we could not bring because of this reason. And before you go, our brother is asking, why didn't we get? I don't know who this is. But
It is Ignatius Ganago. Lambert, the thing is, you are right. But the thing is, we have to be able to. I don't like us to go into comparison about different environments. That environment is different about what they do.
No,
Our environment is different.
Raymond. You
Now,
can't,
listen.
no, Raymond, hold on.
No,
You can't have it both.
wait.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both
Let me
ways.
give you 3 statistics.
Yes. Go ahead.
Let me give you 3 statistics. Switzerland plays with. I've watched most of their matches. They rarely play a 3-man defense, but they play 4-2-3-1. Serbia plays 3-5-2, or sometimes they can play a 3-4-3. Brazil plays a 4-3-3. So you want to tell me that of every member in that coaching staff, they don't know how these 3 teams play. So it means that how did they get their coaching badges? Let's not behave. Even Fon was the one always telling me in 2017, he told me that. So I want to tell him that Hugo Bros does not even know what he's doing. So they want to tell me that there is nobody in that coaching staff who knows what they are doing. No, I cannot believe that. I mean, if I can watch the matches and determine their style of play, their offensive animation, I also believe that the coaching staff does the same. Let us not behave as if they too don't want success for this team. What I'm saying is that if you look at the statistics, the player who had the highest ball possession lost out of all the defenders for the AFCON was Ngadu Gadri. You can check it out. The match against Burkina Faso, the match against Ethiopia, the match against Comoros, the match against Egypt. Ngadu had the highest ball, which were to the opponent. You take even the match against Algeria, who were there in Douala. It is the ball that he gave away that brought about the goal. So why are people behaving as if the coaching staff does not see these things? And I mean, we are only looking at it in a different way. The coach said they want to be consistent in what they were doing. Out of the 26 players that went in for the World Cup, 22 of them were in South Korea, which means that's consistency. That's one fact. Out of the 26 players, 16 of those players were in the AFCON. That's another point of consistency. We're able to take in 6 binationals. We took in 2 local players. So I said the focus on one player is the wrong focus. I mean, this is not the Bible where Jesus will tell you that go and look for the one sheep lost and leave the 99. No. What you do is that you concentrate on the 24 and you take the 2 away out of the equation.
Okay, when I have you there twice, so I don't know. Let me.
No, listen. I got the impression that. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I got the impression that Raymond is mixing up on the things. I will say one more thing about this gathering, then proceed to the players I thought should have been over there. We are looking at the fact of things. Ngadu has demonstrated to us that is worthy of that he can play if he play the team that's at it is right now, no matter when. All right. He has proven to us that being a defender, no matter how well you play during the tournament, if you cannot score the goals, you're not going to go anywhere. So there is a player who tells you that if I'm a defender, I can score goals. Just a few months back, the head coach was telling us that this guy and Zambia are 100% good. We are hoping that in November, when I will come out with the final, they will be 200% good. So why then do you take part of it? This is a simple question. That's what we are saying. Put it aside if they don't want to answer that question. In fact, it's the same coach qualified coach that he might to be that. He told us that a few months back. So why did he have to drop it? Secondly, I want to talk to you about the players I think should have come into the team. There are 2 of them.
Fon, you may have to log off one of your, because I think there's an echo and it's coming back. So I don't know what the problem is. You want to check your connections. Meantime, while you're checking that, Nadia, you have anything to? You have been quiet.
Sorry, my network has been disturbing me. That's why.
Yeah,
What I can say concerning the the squad, what I can say is I think this squad is it looks somehow very interesting because we have some changes that was made by the coach. For example, like the attackers, we have Mbuemo from Brentford, and so far he has been doing very good in his club. We also see Zambo Anguissa from Napoli. He has been doing so well. I was really happy to see him included in the squad too. And then now we have the new player from Cotton Sport, um, Maru, who also did well from the last match that we played with Jamaica. And Chupumotim has been, I mean, he's one of the best attackers now we have in the world so far, like as compared to how he has been performing in Bayern Munich. Then now we come now to the defense. We see changes like Nicolas Nkulu coming in and Gandalf being included in the list. It was kind of surprising to me, but I think the coach had to do that as respect to how he has been performing so far from the AFCON. He hasn't been really consistent. So to me, I don't think he should be in the list. I think Cameroon perform, they will do better than they have been performing so far. The only thing that the team needs right now is just that the players need to understand each other, because they can be performing good in their clubs, but when they come now as a country, as a team, they can find it a little bit difficult to understand each other as they don't play often. So that's the only thing that I think we really need, and determination. So for me, I'm okay with the list.
Yeah, I think that's a great analysis, and I'm glad that you're able to be with us. I don't know where the other two gentlemen have peeled off. I don't know whether you decided to kick them out, but it's a great. It's great that you reference the fact of the attack, and I mean, I'm wondering whether they are going to be able to fill both Swaibu, because I watched Swaibu and the attack line against was the attack line against Jamaica, and I was kind of surprised the way the coach set that up. But I think it was just for the local game. I don't know whether we are going to have the captain play together with Swaibu, or Swaibu is going to be the one replacing the captain when he's tired. But I don't know how what do you think about
But
having both of them on the attack line at the same
but
time?
the captain has not really been that, let me say, great. Abubakar has not really performed like he used to perform. So it's just going to who performs best, who will start the match. The one who looks like he performs best, maybe the coach will put first to start up the lineup.
Well, let's hope that things get better. I think Chechuma Bangla says the argument here is that a bad Michel Gado would be better than a good Nicolas Kulu, who has not been having regular playtime in his English team. And I think that has been the debate here as to whether people who have not had time to play in their teams will be able to perform when they come back home. I don't know. Again, I think the taste of the pudding will lie in the eating. Let's see how that comes out. Ngade has been real. I mean, I know you think that Ngade is okay for him not going in because of his current performance, but I'm wondering whether that was really a wise decision by the Demia says, I also think the coaching department has to apologize to Tawamba. They made him moving in white like a pro who was already in Qatar. Well, I think when you have that in your head, that becomes a problem. Mr. Raymond, if not of his assist, we would have been talking about World Cup again. Even if he has lost form, he merits to be compensated. I mean, then we should take all the players that qualified the team to go in, but it's a good point. I don't know what is compensation. Charles, some of us are not experts, but we have ice. This team would have been one to hope for if it included Gade and Fabrice Ondoa. I don't know about Fabrice Ondoa. Last week we talked about that, but I don't know about that. I don't know whether Fabrice Ondoa is somebody to. What is your take about the goalkeepers?
For the goalkeepers, honestly speaking, Fabrice Ondoa is a really great goalkeeper. I was happy picking up in his club that he is. He has been performing great, and for me, I think he should have been called to the squad. He's a really good keeper. So
So we're having lots of connectivity. I can barely hear you even, Nadia, but I'm glad Fon is back. I know you guys have some issues there, but Fon.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know exactly what has been going on since I went off. You know, we have the issues. So we hope that it's gone well for you. So I was talking about the two players whom I thought should have been part of the squad. At the level of the goalkeeping department, we should have had Fabrice Ondoa. It is not because I have something against Andre Onana. No normal person, no normal Cameroonian football analyst can say he has something against Andre Onana. In fact, everything being equal, he's the best for now. But Lambert, what I'm saying is this: Rigobert Song wants to have an outrightly attacking team. There's very little consideration given to the midfield and the rear, which means that what? That a lot of responsibility has been given to Ondoa, or rather to Andre Onana. Imagine that in his show of bravado to save Cameroon, he gets wounded or he picks a red card. Who goes in to stand in the place of Andre Onana? It's going to be one of those two guys who are there. So why didn't you bring in Fabrice Ondoa so that in such an eventuality, Cameroonians can have their siesta without thinking twice? That's where the problem is. So they should have brought in Fabrice Ondoa. That's what I'm standing for. Secondly, you know, it doesn't suffice for you to go to the team with to the World Cup with the best talents. There is something that happens inside the den. There should be somebody in the den that who can provide the ginger topping effect with regards to the state of mind, how much confidence the team has. There used to be a young man in that team called Oyongo Bitolo. Oyongo Bitolo has not been playing of late. That's true. So based on that, they could not be retaining him in that team because they said that they want him to come in there for doing nothing. No, that's not the thing. But all of us know that Oyongo Bitolo, as the years went by, became somebody like the animator in camp. Somebody who can change things. He can bring in the confidence in the camp when things become difficult for the team. So why do you have to drop him? But yet you have 24 players, or let's say you have 26 players. So you have to look at some of those things and look at them very, very closely. Look at them with a level head. We're not asking you to bring Oyongo Bitolo to play, but he can come in there to play a different role. Because whether you like it or not, of the 26 players who are going to play at the World Cup in Qatar, maybe only about 16 or 15 will be used. Then what about the rest? They have certain roles there. So what are those roles more important than the role that Oyongo Bitolo would have played in that team? I don't think so. Chechuma Bala was asking the question about Ignatius Ganago. Why did you have to drop him? And I don't want to, I want you to tell me, maybe I saw somebody say that some of us are experts. I don't want to say some of us are not experts, but we have eyes. This team would have been one to hope for if it included Ngadu and Fabrice on the what that he just says that what I just said now. So what I'm saying is we are going for the World Cup. The World Cup, that is the best footballers that God has made and are living on earth now. Bring in all the arguments that can make you do better. Cameroon has been a very poor World Cup participant, and I can show you how. They've been there 7 times before. In their first participation in 1982, they backed 3 draws. They pulled a draw against Italy, who ended up winning the cup. What happened in 1990? They reached the quarterfinals. Good, we clap for them. What about 2000, or let's say 1994? Disgrace. 1998. Not good. 2002, disgrace. 2010, double disgrace. 2014, triple disgrace. So Cameroon has been a very poor World Cup participant. So why can't you improve on that record by bringing in the best you have? without putting some considerations that cannot be defended by any calculus anywhere in the world.
So Fon, again, thanks for your analysis, and I want to, Elias, we have not forgotten about you. We promised you 2 weeks ago. I think you and I need to connect, but welcome on the show. This is what the focus says. I just feel the striker from Cotton Sport was included for the money FIFA pays the clubs from which the players are coming. And I don't.
That's not true. That's not true. You are going to the World Cup and you decide for one reason or another that you are taking 2 home-based players. If you are taking 2 home-based players, what stops you from taking the person who was voted as the best player? That's the simple logic in it. And being voted the best person in the league, which means that you were the best in performance from start to finish. So if they want just one player, can only be the person who was the best. So I don't think that this argument is not tenable.
Eto'o should relinquish power to the coach. After watching his interview, I understood that he calls the shots. Some was unable to recognize the names of the players he supposedly called. That's a shame and yet another distraction. I think you made that point.
That's true.
Of the show.
Mr. Elias, that was the first thing I said when this program started. I said, but my good friend Raymond came in. I wanted to give a report out to that. It was very clear. That one has not changed. Although it is possible that would not have been the case. Because let me tell you, we can only for now. You remember when there was the issue of one all sport versus Cox Sportif? I told you on this program that please, whatever thing you are stating, let's wait for the official announcement concerning that. When the official announcement came, they arrested all the quarrels. Now, in this particular issue of Eto'o and Song and who is who, we had the rumors said. The rumors, I'm starting again on the line. Rumors said that before the match against Burundi in the qualifiers for the African Nations Cup, that Song presented his list to the president of FECAFOOT, who told him that I don't want to see this particular name. I think that was Ngadu. Song reportedly went and told Ngadu that Eto'o had said, the president had said, I didn't want to see you in that list. They went on and fielded him. Then Eto'o later on told him that, you know what, you got me the first time, the second time you won't get me on the hip. So it is suggested, therefore, that when they were building up the final list for the World Cup, the president did it and said, if I give this list directly to Eto'o, he will inject names that I didn't want. So let me pass through my team press officer and let him just discover where they are going down there. Otherwise, how does it happen that you are there with a coach who has to give the list of the players? He takes the envelope with the team press officer to read, whereas he's supposed to present his list and then later on give the team press officer who proceeds to go and give the crowd.
Well, again, you have the discussion continuing. In all honesty, Elias thinks that Undwa should not be part of the team because he plays in the lower league and lower classes. Not sure how you play such a player against teams like Brazil, Switzerland.
Mr. Elias, Mr. Elias, do you know where Miller came from in 1990 to go and play and score 4 goals at the World Cup? He played in a league that you could not even spell the name of that league, not because of any right, but because it was not known. So playing one league or another is a different story altogether.
Uncle Fon, let's be honest, we are not ready to compete, so we should call young players and go for the future.
No. We can't say that. We can't say that Cameroon is going to the World Cup. In fact, I think that is the thing that I warn against. That don't bring in some impurities that will end up poisoning the entire party. If these guys have continued with the same momentum and the same logic that they started with, I mean, when I say this guy, I'm referring to the president of the federation and the coach, and gone ahead and given Cameroonians the players that they needed. It is true that there is no list that will come out and everybody will applaud. It's normal. The way you drop some kinds of people from that list, it poses a problem, especially when you have made us believe that these guys are good for the competition. That's where the problem is.
Focus, I thank for the Oyongo Vitolo issue, but I don't know what that is. But I like the fact that home-based players are included because that's the way forward. I expect more home-based players to get in as the league gets more competitive, and that's true.
Yes, Lambert, on this issue that Elias is raising, I think when you watch the team that played against Jamaica on Wednesday, if you give that team to a very good coach and they bring them together, You might not need any reinforcement from a professional field for them to win the Nations Cup in 2 years' time. That team demonstrated a lot of innate talent, a lot of potential. So to bring in the players in now and try to make them start feeling the heat, the hard facts and rigors of big tournaments, I think it's good.
The player that I discovered on that day was a certain Eta Bawak. I think he was really formidable. I really loved the way he concocted. I really thought he was going to be part of the team. You know.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. I hear that people who deal with fabricated logic say that the conclusion can never be right if the premise is wrong. They take off saying that we are going to look for 2 players. What if about 6 of them that I thought I saw in that team could have joined the team? What do? They already say 2 players, so it doesn't matter how well they perform or how poorly they perform, 2 players. No, tell us that this team is the pride of Cameroon for tomorrow. They are going to this match. We'll select the best and start grooming them for the national team. That's what they should have done. But when it's restricted, you have only 2 places for them, it poses a problem.
So I think let's clear this issue about Ngado, because the story that you have not heard anybody mention here, which is something that has made the rounds, is about the fight that he had with Zambongisa. And I think they said presumably, because back to your point, you also just said here that you need some player who's going to act like a glue. And it seems as if Ngado is very controversial. I mean, in terms of the morale and the team. And that seems to be the reason that they're putting him out. I mean, nobody has mentioned that here, but that's the story that has made the rounds on social media.
Yeah. The thing is that if you believe in everything you get on social media, then you might end up going to hell, because social media might end up telling you that hell is better than heaven. They have said that on social media. But what I think can be taken as having some element of truth is that recently Etofis, as the president of the federation, granted an interview on Canal D. I didn't get the entire interview, but I was told that at one point the journalist was trying to find out from him what they had against Michael Ngadu, that he didn't as much as pronounce his name. So it shows that there was something not right somewhere. So the story was still continued that when he said Ngadu should not be part of the team that played, Ngadu was supposed, reportedly, went and complained to some higher quarters elsewhere that Etofis was behaving like a dictator. And if that was true, the president of the federation would not have liked that kind of stuff. I would therefore say, okay, since you say I'm a dictator, I will show you that I'm a dictator from start to finish. You are not going to be part of this team here. You're not going to be part of this team. But while people have complained, and if you look at what is happening on social media and even the local media, many more Cameroonians want Michael Ngadu to be part of that team than don't want him. In fact, what is happening right now is the clash right now in Cameroon is those who swear by Etofis and those who don't. Those who think that whatever thing Etofis does is right, and those who think that whatever thing you say against Etofis, you are just doing that for no reason at all. So that's what's happening right now. But I think that if the head coach, Rigobert Song, on the occasion of his presentation of that list, had he gone further by telling Cameroonians that this player is there because of this one is not there because of this and this, I think the topic and this issue of the Lambom Show would have been much more different than what is going on. The mere fact that he didn't say anything, and everybody knows that when you don't say things, people are allowed to draw conclusions the way they want to draw them. So that's what we are saying.
Well, Felix, we may have to dig deep to get the truth about that. And even if that happened, I don't see why that should be a reason why a good player is left out of the team. But let's see. And the other part of it that we talked about this Fon weeks back, because there is a prophet who has also come out to say that a central player that has been dropped out of the team, and that is the man that was supposed to bring up the magic to the team. So again,
the prophet, I saw it. The prophet said that the central player has been left, and that actually he was potentially going to score a penalty that would have taken Cameroon further into the tournament. I also want to remind you that a certain prophet predicted that Cameroon was going to win the African Nations Cup. And I knew know that Cameroon did not win the African Nations Cup. Actually, you know, some of these things that we do right now, when you record them, they stay a lot. In 2018, I said something which I'd forgotten. But based on arguments at the time, I said, presenting one of the programs on CRTV, I said, I foresaw Cameroon finding it difficult to eliminate Morocco in the semifinals. In fact, what I was saying was that Cameroon was going to be eliminated in the semifinals, but I said Morocco. What happened was that Cameroon was eliminated at the semifinals. By what team? Another North African team. So some of these things we say, based on the facts that we have, can lead to something. It doesn't suffice. The same prophet said that there is a young man in Cameroon who is so popular and will become Cameroon's next president. And everybody knows who that young man could be. But the same young man was interviewed and he said that he has nothing to do with politics. So there are those things on social media that one can never tell.
So let's, this focus has, and he puts it, there's a follow-up. Should the coach use players who are informed due to a better system of play in Europe, or should we trust the formation of our home coach? And he follows up to say, I'm asking with regards to the form of Chupo and the place of Abubakar. So, and before that, I'd indicated when I was asking Nadia, I was asking about the position of Swaibo with respect to Abubakar and the way they were played out on that the game against Jamaica, whether Abubakar and it may just be an off one, but who stands a better chance? No, Abubakar.
No, there is not. You cannot tell me that you are in a mathematical equation involving Abubakar and Swaibo, and you're asking yourself that who stands a better chance. Given the stakes that are there now and the present state of affairs, Swaibo is no match for Abubakar. But at the same time, Abubakar no longer has the lungs to make him play for 90 minutes. He's a player who can only be used right now as a joker. But I said something a long time ago, and you're a hero of the gaps metaphor. Elias was telling me that there were a lot of gaps in what I was saying. I said, no, don't be frightened. Don't get too used to things that are already known. Think about new things, new ways of going about the same problem. How do I mean? I said, if you got to the point where you found it difficult to play the two of them, Abubakar and Chupo, you say, okay, Chupo, you have match number 1, Abubakar, you have match number 2. You know what that is going to create? Those guys will put in their very, very best. That's what I'm very convinced about it. Don't always think that both of them should play at the same time. No, that's not what I'm saying. At the same time, the World Cup is going to be high velocity. It's going to be physical force. It's going to be fast thinking. And it's going to be a lot of imagination. Right? So this is not the time to joke. So what is going to happen at the end of this is that he can only choose and line up the best players who can give him the best result. All those things. Let me tell you something, Lame. When I listen to coaches, be they Mourinho, or any of those great coaches, whenever you interview them to find out what they do to win matches, they never start telling you that I play the 3-4-2-1 system, I put this attacker who goes beyond. They never tell you that. Those are things that they try to use. But you can come from Africa, from a country called Cameroon, and be a destroyer. Go there and destroy the 4-4-2 that the opponent is bringing to you. Go and destroy the 5-1-3-2 system that one is bringing, and they impose the rhythm that you've come with from Cameroon. And then you can be able to have your way.
So, because you discarded the question about Swaibo and Abubakar, what about Choupo-Moting, who is on top form? Are you going to? Because the problem with Choupo-Moting, I hear with the national team is he's always been played out of position, isn't it? Because I don't know whether you want to.
No. Let me tell you, to the credit of Etofis and Rigobert Song, when Choupo-Moting got what he called the frustration during the Africa Cup of Nations, in fact, he was on the bench of withdrawing ultimately from the Cameroon national team. The Eto'o and Rigobert met him and told him, no, the coach is doing what he thinks is best for Cameroon. Stay put. When we will come, we will do this and this and that. That's why we'll be able to do that. And I think it's going to follow the same logic that Rigobert Song, as the coach of the national team, would definitely want to field Choupo-Moting and that position of the squad where he produces the best results. And the facts now are speaking for themselves, and they are more in favor of Choupo being the key striker for the Cameroon team. Vincent can come in when 20, 30 minutes, that kind of stuff like that. That is it. Miller did what he did in 1990 because Nepomniachtchi gave him 20 minutes. And each time he came on, he scored a goal, except for the match against England. That, you know, Miller had always been the kind of player where he has three options when he gets to the 18-meter box, or the 18-yard box, as you want to call it. When he comes close, there are three options. One, he scores a goal. Two, he creates a penalty. Or three, he gives a pass that you don't even need to think twice to score. So that's the kind of special player. So what I mean, why I'm putting this case of Miller is that we have the players there. Not everybody can play for 90 minutes. No, not everybody. In fact, few can. Now, those who can only come in with the required effect at the required time will feel that when the time comes up. And I think Rigo Besson, who had been in that team a very long time, Etofis himself, who has made Camerooners believe that it's possible to win the World Cup, should try to do those things that militate in favor of Cameroon pulling off the unimaginable in Qatar.
So I wanted to put out an advert today so that people, especially if you're in the United States and you're trying to watch the World Cup, I have a deal for you, a very good deal. There's a friend who has something that you can use in order to be able to watch the World Cup. Many people use cable, but this friend has a very good service that you can benefit from, and it's quite cheap. You know, that is what you want. So I wanted to take the opportunity to let people see this. Give me a second. Let me show this. 1 second. Share
While you're
screen.
still working on that, I had more than 200 calls asking the Lambom to come up with special programs during the World Cup period.
And I'm sure you told them that we are coming up. Can you see Brooks Internet?
I told them what did you told me?
Brooks Internet Protocol TV services, the best Fire Stick TV services ever. So you can pay $30 for a month, and you can pay $100 for 12 months. If you are based in the USA, Canada, United Kingdom, all devices are supported, anti-freeze, very stable, quality and high speed. So you can try this for 7 days and they'll pay, you can have your money back. The number to use, 410-807-5477. 410-807-5477. Peter Brooks Internet Protocol Services. So please try that. You will be able to watch the World Cup very free. That's very affordable. But you were saying something about the Lambom Show. I think we'll come to that. I wanted us to we ran Elias. 2017 Nations Cup was won by the brilliance of a coach that sent Abu to the bench and used deep energy, and the fight in deep gave him a start. And then Abu used his sang-froid to win Nations Cup. For me, Choupo should start ahead of Abubakar just for the simple reason that he's sharper than Abu and plays for Bayern in top competitions.
We have just given a resume of what we're talking about right here concerning that matter. That is exactly how they should go about it. But let me tell you that, Lambert, my main fear with that team is the defense, because the way it is, it's going to create a lot of difficulty for the goalkeeper. And really, it's going to be really life in the fast lane. Really, it's going to be life in the fast lane. And that was the reason why we kept on saying that you are brought in Fabrice Ondoa. But we still have today is the 12th. We have 2 more days for the deadline for FIFA. So it's still possible to do 1 or 2 things. And if they can, I think they should look at that part of it. And look at the goalkeeping department, look at the Ngado issue, and maybe Oyongo Bitolo. We need Oyongo Bitolo in that team. Maybe not as a player, but playing the things well inside the den and trying to whip up the psychological aspect of the medication of the game. the squad.
So are you suggesting that what happened with Miller may happen with, because I see there's a petition that has been put out for Ngade to be called back into the team. Are you foreseeing that maybe the head of state is going to do something?
No, I don't think the head of state can. I don't think the head of state could do it. It could come in. In Miller's case, it wasn't as if people were clamoring for him to come back to be part of the squad. When people least expected, Miller just pop up. And then they asked him that, what are you doing here? So I've come because the head of state has invited me to come and see if I can put in something for Cameroon to do well at the World Cup. And he had asked me, and I told him that, Your Excellency, I can. And that is how the head of state ordered that he be part of the team. And it became a ridicule for the minister. The minister who did not want to see Miller, he was obliged, he himself, the minister who did not want to see Miller was obliged to accompany Miller to see the squad where they were training at the time. So it's just that I just think that we have reached, the way football is being managed in the country now is a little different. It's quite different from what it used to obtain. I think this is a time where the president of the federation and the coach, when the general outcry about a particular aspect, that they too should not behave as if they are not, as if they are deaf to what is happening. They should try to do something about it. Because there comes a time, sometimes you can beat up your wife in the house and beat her up until the day a thief breaks into the house. What do? You are a wife, you quickly sign a truce, and you take care of the common enemy before each person goes back to where they are. The same kind of thing that happened to the gentleman in the Bible who had been an enemy to Pharaoh. And then when they fight to Pilate, and then when they had to deal with Jesus Christ, they signed a peace pact and became friends of that to deal with him. So we can downplay some of those things for the country to prevail at the World Cup finals. And I think ultimately I want to say something about Etofis. The day he took upon himself to say that Cameroon would win the World Cup, I think that what he did, it would have been an inspiration. It wasn't like saying that Cameroon is going to the World Cup to win it. The language changes, because when you go to the World Cup and you see you play against Brazil, against France, against Germany, against Spain, all those teams, it injects some fright in you. You need somebody to change the narrative. That when you get there, you say, but what's this nonsense? We have just 7 matches to win and win the cup. Let's get into this thing and see what happens. After all, a match is just 90 minutes. Whereas some coaches come and then start by saying that, well, in order to tone down on the humiliation, we are going to play a defensive game. In order to tone down this, we are going to do this. And no, you inject fright in the players before you go for the tournament. See? So when you start telling them that this thing is possible, nobody's name has written on it. Otherwise, FIFA will just always declare that this country has won the World Cup without you even organizing a tournament. There are 32 of you because they say you are the best 32 in the world. Do 1 or 2 things and prove a difference. In 2002, who would have expected Senegal to defeat the defending champions at the time, France, in the opening game, and then went on to reach the quarterfinals? Who would have expected Cameroon, who was humiliated at the Africa Cup of Nations in 1990, to defeat Argentina in the opening game? So those are some of the kinds of things that we need to hear. Those are the things, that kind of galvanizing speech from Etofis. When he said it, I think it just went like that. But I think this is the time where that speech becomes more than ever relevant.
Midfield is my main fear. When we lose balls in midfield, the players should be able to converge quickly. I watched Cameroon versus South Korea and saw 3 South Korean players outplay 6 men in our box. Terrible defending. Holding midfielders should be able to defend narrow and stop runs into the box from opposing teams. So you have a problem with Fon is the defense, then there's a midfield. Say Cameroon is done. But you have any comment, Fon?
Well, I see his point. Actually, when I talked about defense, what I'm really saying is that when you look at the team as it is, you have the best goalkeeper, and you have the best attack line from Africa. But the midfield and the defense, they have a problem. If you could better manage those 2 departments on the field of the squad, things will be good. So people that put a lot of emphasis on the attack line and they forget about what is happening behind them. Right? So I see his point. I get his point. I buy his point. That is true. You need to work on it. Give to the midfield and the defense what the attack and the goalkeeping department really have. Otherwise, whenever they will lose the ball from the attack there, they'll just have a bullover to go touch the defense and then maybe have their way through the net. And that's why I say therefore that it is important for you to have a reliable substitute goalkeeper. It's very important. Yesterday I was looking at the review of Cameroon's matches at the World Cup in 2014. Wow. The match against Brazil, against Croatia, against Mexico. The players were just throwing in and out of the goal area, the Cameroon, the goal area, as if it was just it was on a pleasure trip. So you have to avoid that kind of thing. And if Onana has to stand his ground as the best goalkeeper in the world, you can imagine. Then what if he gets fouled? Who gets in there? So that's the question we're asking.
So a direct question to you, and this is something that we have done based on the list that has been put out now and looking at the players. What are the chances of Cameroon at the World Cup? And I just also wanted to indicate to you that the president of FECAFOOT revised his thing about Cameroon winning the World Cup, because he said Cameroon is going to win the World Cup because they're going to play the finals against Morocco. So
no, I know this one. That's a development. He said that because he said he wished that they play the final against Morocco. It's not like this. Okay, you want to know Cameroon's chances at the World Cup? Well, let me tell you, Mr. Berto, I want to tell you honestly that what happened when the final list was announced brought doubts to bear in my psyche concerning the team. I'm hoping that before the 14th of November, things would have found their place. When things find their place, then you can ask the question, I will know what to say. But for now, it's really complicated. I can't quite say. But if after the 14th, the team is still the way it is, then I'll answer this question in the next week edition of Lambom Show.
Good. So there's a most important. Please drop that info in the chat. I've also put that up a couple of times, but I'm interested in getting a copy of the Czech's diary. Please, Uncle Fon, let me know how I can get a copy. Thank you. Again, we have announced that is on hold. We are going to come back to it until after the World Cup. So most likely it's going to be in December. I've not responded to you because I did not have that information. But we don't have the rest of our team, our crew here. We want to get into the Czech's diary since somebody asked about it. What do you have from your diary today?
What I have from my diary today is an explanation of what happened, what I posted yesterday, and what I will post tomorrow. The question was, when you asked the question in 2013, potential crash landing on Lake Victoria. Remember, in 2013, Cameroon was not part of the African Nations Cup. South Africa was hosting the tournament, and a 5-man team of CRTV reporters and technicians were sent to cover the African Cup of Nations in South Africa. So we left Yaounde, had a stopover in Ethiopia, and from there we had to proceed to South Africa. We were flying Lake Victoria. So a few minutes into the trajectory over the lake, you can see the lake down there. The flight attendant announced, ladies and gentlemen, hold your breath. There is a drop in cabin pressure. Since we have been moving around, talking to each other, chatting, we had to rush back to our seats, and I went and strapped myself there on my seat. I got strapped to the seat. Suddenly, we saw the oxygen masks dropping, and each person had to fit his. But then the people were already wailing in the plane, and the plane was fighting tooth and nail to go over that expanse of water. It was going to take long. It took almost 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. But for the next 3 to 5 minutes was hell. The first thing that came to my mind was this thing to say, we call air crash in National Geographic. And then suddenly, you know that song? The song that les choses qui arrivent aux autres commencent déjà à m'arriver. Those things I sit back in my home and watch on National Geographic, they're about to live their life. The other technicians, there was the cameraman was the late Besson Richard. There was also Simon Gumo, I think, and there was that technician on radio, and then the journalist, Betena Yangma. I tend to look behind to find out how they were at that point in time. So everybody was like this. It was like that. It was a terrible experience. I have never forgotten it. It was such an experience. Those pictures taken on that occasion, I wouldn't be releasing those pictures now. They will find all of those pictures in the Czech's diary. So that was how we went through that experience. So we finally landed in Durban, in South Africa. We had to call back the station to talk with the director of information at the time, Charles Nungo, who tried to confront us in our own way, tried to ask us to keep calm, this and that and stuff like that. But I could see that they had a lot. It didn't really actually affect members of my team. And so those are the things that sometimes when they go out there, they cover competitions for the national team or with the national team, people think only about the mission money. They don't know some of those dangers and some of those very dangerous things that you confront or that confront you when you're out there. And you have those kinds of experiences, but just that for 2013 was one that I will never ever forget. There was another one when once I went to United States of America on my way back. I flown the Mediterranean Sea. We told that the aircraft had a problem, and so we had to go back to land in Belgium. And you can imagine, it's at night. They tell you that the aircraft has a problem. We have to go back to Belgium. We're flying the same Mediterranean Sea. So those kinds of things, there are a litany of them. All of them we discussed in the Czech's diary. But he is asked to know something about a Czech's diary. I think it's possible now to say, I won't give it a date, but I think it will be launched in Yaounde and Douala in the last week of December. This is because next weekend we begin the World Cup, and during the World Cup period, it will not be good to distract people left and right. When the World Cup ends on the 18th of December, it will be about 12 days to the end of the year. So we're going to try to fix it during that period. That is what is in store for now. But I'm eagerly waiting to hear from Lambert, the Chief Executive Officer of the Lambom Show. When we'll talk behind the curtains, what becomes of this program? With all the calls I've been receiving, asking me about a special program that has to come on, because people expect that. You yourself, you made what you describe as very important decisions concerning the life of this program during the World Cup.
So again, thank you. I really love that experience that you shared. It's quite breathtaking, and to have been I'm sure you have had many of those near death moments when you are thinking that is the end, and we are glad that we have you and we are tapping into that wisdom. And I think it would be remiss of me to go on today without saying something about the Senegalese team, because we're going to miss out on one of the great players. Sadio Mane had an injury, and everybody was worried whether he was going to be called up for the team. But this week, the coach put out his list, and thankfully, the Mane is on. But what is your take about Mane, and do you think he's going to be able to perform?
Yeah, that decision by the Senegalese coach, Aliou Cissé, it just tells us, or tells you and I, what we mean. We actually do mean when we say that one Oyongo Bijolo to be part of the Cameroon national team. Sadio Mane might not be informed to play in the first round of the tournament, but his mere presence in the camp with the Senegalese team is going to be quite unquantifiable. So the fact that he kept him in the team, not say that, well, you are injured, you're not going to be part of it. No. His presence there, just his presence in the team, means a lot. Since they have been talking so much about Eto'o-Fils, imagine that Cameroon were to play a crucial match during this World Cup, and then suddenly they say that the president of the federation is also going to play. You know the kind of impact it's going to have on the opponent. So the presence of Sadio Mane in that team is wonderful. I think it is most welcome. It's lauded. I know so many people have been saying, including Madame Fatma Samura, the Secretary General of FIFA, was saying that maybe we should try to see the men of God to pray and see what we'll do about this whole thing. Everybody wants Sadio Mane to be part of that team. Senegalese first, and then Africans next. Because don't you forget that Africa has 5 representatives at the World Cup. And the performance of each of those representatives means much to every African. And so I think that it was really a sigh of relief for him to be included in the squad. They might not insist that he plays, but the fact that they might go ahead and say that on the match list, he's a substitute, that alone can cause some entropy to the opponents. So his presence there, as far as I'm concerned, is good.
Good. So again, I think we have been on for an hour, 30 minutes close to, but I think we normally are supposed to be for an hour. The Lambom Show is going to be covering the World Cup, and we, at this point, there is a team that is in Cameroon that we need to take care of. So we're going to have a special edition throughout of Sports Vision that is going to be covered. The group of cameramen and reporters that are going to be on standby throughout in Cameroon, and that's a huge task for us. If there's any way you want to support the show, you can always reach out to me, but I'm announcing officially that we're going to make sure that we get Sports Vision like on the Lambom Show from next Saturday. So you want to have a taste of what this is going to look like. The Lambom Show next Saturday is going to be, call it an avant-goût of the World Cup. We're going to have a complete package, and we'll start off so that we can get more people to come on. If there are suggestions you have as to how we can make this better, if you have donations that you want to give out to the Lambom Show, please reach out. Thank you.
One question.
Yeah.
And who is going to be the presenter of the Lambom Show? Or rather, of the Sports Vision that will be inserted in the Lambom Show?
The venerable and indefatigable veteran sports journalist, Fon Echekiye. So you don't want
Adopted.
to miss it. So again, thank you. Any last words, Fon?
Well, what I can suggest to our viewers who will be part of us is that they should keep the appointment with the Lambom Show during the World Cup period. Personally, I will do my very best. I know I have so many fans out there. And that program that made us become one huge family on earth called Sport Vision is going to be revived. You're going to have what you want to have and what you might not have elsewhere. So that one I can assure you. So we're working on that. And we're going to make the Sport Vision and Lambom Show the fastest 13 minutes of any television at all in the world during the World Cup.
Good. So all looking forward to. Let's gather again next Saturday. Thank you. And I'm sure we're going to maintain the 5 p.m. time. So it's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, those who are in the United States, and 4 p.m. GMT. So thank you. Hope you have enjoyed the show. We focused a lot on Cameroon today. We want to make it a global show, so we're going to include other teams. I hope you enjoyed it. Like the broadcast, share the broadcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Good. God bless.